All right, welcome everybody to our NAIA-SIDA Spotlight. I'm here this week with Jeff Melton, who's the Sports Information Director at Vanguard University out in California. Jeff, is that your title? Is it Sports Information Director? Is it Director of Athletic Communication? What is your official title?
I'm actually Assistant Athletic Director of Events and Media.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I do the dual role out here of game management and sports information. So the hybrid adds some uniqueness to it, but it also keeps you on toes. So
well, very good. Well, I appreciate you joining us this week. I actually got to go to CASIDA for the first time last summer, 2019. First time I've been in the business for 13 years. First time I had a chance to go to CASIDA. I actually sat in when you and Zach Shore did a little presentation on game day management. And so I have taken some of the things that you shared at that in that little vignette, and I've used them here at McPherson College. So I appreciate that.
Very good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear other people have learned some tricks of the trade that I've stolen from other people. So
that's what the business is about. It's
exactly, yeah.
Very rarely is there a new and unoriginal thought. So we borrow and steal from everybody else. So
very good.
So tell us a little bit about Jeff Melton and how you got into sports information, where you're from. Are you a California guy? Are you native? Are you a transplant? What's the deal?
I am a transplant. I was born in Arizona. My family moved out here and then was kind of in the Orange County area pretty much my whole life. I went to school at Vanguard, got my undergrad there. That's where I kind of started getting involved in event management. I was a student worker and kind of just rose up the ranks there, and then decided I was going to parlay that and move on and I went and got my master's at Cal State Long Beach in sport management. And around the same time that my degree ended at Long Beach, I had the opportunity to move to China. So I moved to China for 6 months. I was a math teacher over there and realized that was not for me, but it allowed me to pay off my master's. So that was kind of a win-win there, a little adventure of a lifetime, and pay off some student debt. And then pretty soon after I came back, there was an opening at Vanguard. The previous sports information director, she was on maternity leave, and there wasn't a whole lot of kind of belief that she was going to come back at that time. So I kind of jumped in. It was a full-time SID for $250 a week during that interim period. So if there's some folks out there that think they don't get paid enough, I can speak from experience that we make a little bit more than I did back then. But it was awesome. It came full circle. The athletic director that hired me was a longtime family friend. I had been in the department for many years. So, a lot of the coaches, or actually two of our coaches around here, have known me since I was a little kid. So it's been kind of a unique experience changing that and being a part of a team out here at Vanguard. We've added 6 sports in the last 4 or 5 years out here, so it's been really fun to be on the other side of the coin on that one.
So how many years total have you been in?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm entering my 6th year here.
6th year, okay.
Oh yeah.
So how have things changed? How have you seen things change in the sports information world in the last 6 years? What has changed for you? What have you seen in changes in the industry as a whole?
I think the biggest thing from my point of view here, small school NAIA in California, where we don't get any coverage, no one really cares about us. We get thwarted by UCLA, USC. The JUCOs around here get a little bit more love, and the high schools get a little more love around here than we do. So in our experience, it's been a pretty significant shift of people not really caring about stories anymore. Recaps don't get the views and the clicks they used to. It's really crazy how much that has shifted recently. And so out here in California, especially for Vanguard, being in kind of a more of a metropolitan part of Orange County here, we've done a little bit more of a dramatic shift to kind of the multimedia side of that, where that's the videos. We've created a podcast network. We now have 5 recurring podcasts that happen semi-regularly out here, and moving more to commentating during games and, live social media and kind of more in the moment stuff and a little bit less on the back end just because of, limited resources. And that's just kind of what our friends and family are kind of telling us that they want out here at this time.
How many people you have in your department? Is it a one-man crew? You have student workers? How do you manage your department?
A little bit of all of that. So I was kind of a lone wolf for 4 years, and I got a part-time assistant year, and then we did get a full-time last year. So that was really great. His name's Michael Matosian. We hired him right out of college, and he was super eager to get going, and he's definitely pushed us up a notch and really taken our department to the next level. We do have a pool of student workers that help us handle our game management side. We don't really, use any community volunteers or any of that kind of stuff. We kind of hourly workers for that. And then we usually find 1 or 2 student workers a year who's kind of interested a little bit more than, just getting the paycheck and wants to, dive in a little bit deeper and kind of learn some of the industry. So right now we have a girl named Mariah Rodriguez. She's an all-star. She's a junior. She's already got her first SID job at a local high school where she was, coaching soccer. And so she's already there. We're working this weekend on teaching her how to broadcast basketball games. She's a soccer player through and through. So we're working on some of the terminology with her, but that's really the part that wakes me up in the morning. I've got friends around the country that love nothing more than dive into the stats and memorizing the stats of their players. And for me, it's always been about relationships. It's always been about teaching others and, seeing a student worker come in as a freshman and super timid and so nervous to mess up that they screw up the shot clock like every 12 seconds and seeing that person, just rise up, seeing them on graduation day and just watching them mature into, young men and women is really kind of the crux of why I work at Vanguard.
That's awesome. I feel very much the same. I've been in this business 13 years and I've had some student workers that, I've watched them from freshman on and that's very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your podcast network. I'm a little bit intrigued. I'm going off the cuff here a little bit, but tell me a little bit about this podcast network that you got going on.
Yeah, so we started last year. We started the Vanguard Athletics Podcast Network. Super creative name. But we originally started it where we were just using some of our existing equipment, and it was audio only, and we were posting it on SoundCloud, which was distributing out to Apple Music, Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. And in this next year, we actually took it up a notch. So we actually created this studio I'm sitting in, which is cool. We turned an old office here that wasn't being used, and we kind of made it, we decorated it, made it kind of tricked out with some Vanguard stuff. So this is kind of our hub now. So we transitioned to actually a video podcast now. COVID's thrown a little bit of a wrinkle on that. So we're doing Zoom a little bit more often than we would like, but we have a couple different channels. We have what's called Stories of Significance. So we interview student athletes and just about their Vanguard experience, about what makes them unique, about, their journey with Christ, and just a lot about who they are. We have the Coaches Corner, so we sit down with our coaches and we break down some of the ins and outs of kind of the program and what it's like for them and kind of the inner workings of the team that people wouldn't really see just being a part of seeing them on game days. And then we have another one where we interview our student athletes called 21 Questions. We have a huge bucket of like 500 questions and we just draw them at random. And the student athlete has to react in real time. So that one's super fun. And then we have, just the Vanguard Insider. That's the one where we get, kind of our president involved or a vice president. When our AD comes on, we're on the Vanguard Insider. And then lastly is the latest one we're doing, which is called the Alumni Association. Kind of speaks for itself. We're trying to dive into the stories of our alumni and, how Vanguard changed them and how Vanguard helped get them where they are. And and how they're then pouring back into Vanguard, whether it's with their time, their talents, or monetarily.
That sounds really cool. So what would you what would you say to someone who wants to get involved in a podcast? Where do you start? How do you get it going?
Do it. I mean, we utilized all existing equipment that we had from our game day broadcast. We use it. It's simple, especially with Zoom right now. You can start it, no problem. We use SoundCloud as a hosting network to push out to kind of the podcast to catch people that want to listen in their car. But Facebook, just posting on Facebook is by far the best views we get. And there's a cool feature now, the SoundCloud app. You can post it straight to your Instagram stories, tag your kids, tag your sport, you're off to the races. So we map it out. We try and hit all of our teams, all of our coaches throughout the year. We create a content calendar like you would for anything else, and it's super fun. There's not a whole lot of post-production involved. I have a habit of saying a lot. You guys might hear that, but we don't worry about trying to go in there and clean it up. We're not like the Ringer or ESPN or some of these companies that have hundreds of people working for them and kind of creating those things. So we're just trying to push out different content rather than no one wants to read a 1,500 word profile on an athlete. They'd rather listen to it, hear it especially from the student athlete's own mouth, and it allows us just to be able to just honor our students, because we have a saying around Vanguard that you are more than a number in a jersey to us, and so we love to find ways to represent them on non-game days, because so much of what they do in the classroom, in the court, in the weight room, things like that in the community is so much beyond just what they can do between the whistles.
Sounds cool. So let me ask you this. How are you adjusting? I'm assuming, and we talked a little bit before this, you guys are not playing much this fall with the restrictions in California. How are you adjusting to no sports this fall? And how are you gearing up for what's probably going to be a lot of sports in the spring?
Yeah, so out here in California, we have a little bit more restrictions. So right now, our cross country and our golf teams are kind of the only people competing. We don't have football, so we didn't have to worry about kind of that beast in and of itself. So we really only had to worry about our soccer teams, and our women's volleyball team moved in the spring. Thankfully, we have a great conference, the Golden State Athletic Conference out here. We got 8 schools in California. We got 2 in Arizona. They all work so well together. Our commissioner does a great job of keeping everyone on the same page. So as we transition to the spring, we're kind of looking at not too much crazier than a normal spring. There will be some doubleheader days where you got 2 baseball, 2 softball games going on at the same time. But our conference was able to kind of work it a little bit so that if you're on the road for basketball, then you're at home for volleyball, and vice versa. We moved a lot of games throughout the week. So our soccer teams are going to be playing early week. Our volleyball teams are going to be playing midweek. And then we left baseball and softball kind of on the weekend. And so it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. It kind of shook me up out of my kind of the natural rhythms of how stuff goes when you're 5-6 years into this. So we took it as an opportunity. Back in March when stuff shut down. At first you're thinking, hey, it's be a week or 2 or 3. So we kind of regrouped and kind of just took stock of where we were and kind of some of the areas that we might have slipped a little bit during crossover season. So we identified those. And then, as things kind of stretched on, we dove full on into a big archiving project. When I first took the job, we didn't have any, archives past, 2002 when Stat Crew started, and we had file cabinets and file cabinets full of, just box scores and sheets and scorebooks. And so we had slowly, first tried to, hey, we want to get our schedules on the website. We want to get the scores so that, we know series records and stuff like that. And then, the next big process was getting all those put back into Stat Crew, so that we have that and we can create career reports. So, we've spent this last 5 months just jumping so far into that. And, right now, my assistant, Michael, he's an awesome guy. He probably did 600, 700 softball games in there, and then right now, so we're only left with baseball from our main sports. We had knocked out men's and women's basketball, women's volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and softball. So on that front, we're still just looking at baseball. And then during that time, I took on the privilege of kind of working through some of our discontinued sports. So we now have representation of those on our website for, we had football back in the 50s and 60s. So we're doing some school stuff. We created a little highlight film from them of black and white footage, which was awesome. A really cool project to do. And then, we had men's and women's swimming, men's and women's water polo, and then we had some pretty stud tennis teams back in the day. So, working on representing those and, getting all those NAIA qualifiers and stuff up there. So, we know that those sports don't exist at Vanguard at this time, but we don't want to discount the efforts that those student athletes put into everything when they were at Vanguard.
That's cool. Two more questions and we'll wrap up. First,
right.
I'm always intrigued at what your favorite memory of being an SID is. So tell us what your favorite memory in the 6 years that you've been doing this. What is your favorite memory of being an SID?
There's two that come to mind. One is, we have a pretty good women's basketball program out here, and so coming in, I love Coach Davis. I used to help him in his club tournaments when I was 7, 8 years old, running shot clock. So love getting to go on the road with all of our teams. But we made a Final Four run 1 year out there in Billings, Montana, and never thought I'd spend 2 weeks in Montana, but it was a blast. The way the schedule broke, we always played the last game of every night. So it was really weird. Our schedules got thrown off. We were tipping off at like 9 at night. We weren't waking up until noon because by the time we got everything wrapped up, got the girls fed and everything, it was, 1, 2 in the morning. Then I'd go back and, start uploading stats and putting up photo albums. So that was really fun. But, life at Vanguard Athletics, it's a family. It's so much more than, winning games. We like to say if they're keeping score, we want to win, but winning isn't everything. And so Coach Davis had a long battle with cancer last year. And so his first night back in the pit was actually just a couple days after the tragedy with Kobe Bryant and all those other 8 people on the helicopter. And so we were pretty unique in here that, that Kobe's club team practiced in our gym a lot. He came to practice and, taught some of the girls about the triangle and gave them all shoes. And so he was a pretty big presence around here. And so both of those things kind of collided at once. And Kobe was so instrumental in encouraging Coach Davis during his recovery. He would visit him in the hospital and, kind of the recovery, and he'd get him up and make him walk twice as far as the doctors would tell him. And, everything about Kobe was 100% true. And so those things colliding on that night, we had Team Mamba was here and we were able to honor all of them. And it was such a special night to kind of have all of Russ's history at Vanguard colliding with, the local Laker history. And, we have, Miles Simon's an assistant coach for the Lakers, and they just won the championship. And it's especially special around here because, Miles and his dad, who unfortunately passed away recently, they would work out in the summer here, all their NBA guys. So, he's been around here for forever. And so there's a big connection between Vanguard and, the kind of Laker organization through that, especially through Kobe. And so, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. We've joked before, Jeremy, that we don't get much media around here. And I feel like I understand what other people around the country go through. My phone was never rung so much in 1 week from, media outlets and trying to coordinate all that and trying to coordinate interviews with people. And so it was super special. And so, first and foremost, we're just thrilled that Coach Davis is, in remission and is back on the sideline. He's such a staple of women's basketball just around the country. And so not only that, but also, being able to honor them, especially with the proximity we have to OCC, you know, which is less than a mile away, and you know, with Team Mamba and all that. So that's probably what I would choose.
That's cool. I didn't realize you got the connection. That would make sense being in Orange County to the Lakers and to Kobe. That's a fantastic story. So last question is, what is your alter ego? What are you doing when you're not being an SID superhero? What do you do? What do you enjoy doing?
For me, travel is my biggest passion. That honestly was one of the hardest things for me during this quarantine time. Wasn't the lack of pro sports on TV. I found other ways to, you know, engage my time. I got into cooking and things like that. But I miss traveling. I like, you know, usually during the summer, I go away for a week or two, somewhere crazy, try and get somewhere where there isn't Wi-Fi or anything, you know, whether that's Thailand, Greece, you know, on some of these cruise ships and stuff like that. So my family has a real travel bug in them. So we've been doing that a while. And so I love to travel. I'm at, you know, 30 something countries and counting. Love the opportunity if I can get away during Christmas break as well, do something fun. So that's how I decompress on the daily. I love to cook. I love to, you know, go on walks, runs. We got some great weather out here that we can enjoy all the time. It is blistering hot today as we're recording this. I'm sure some folks around there aren't going to want to hear that out here in California, but you know, taking advantage of everything that Southern California has to offer. I'm a big movie guy, so I love the Regal Unlimited movies. So if anyone out there is ever in California and wants to see a movie, hit me up. I'll go see it for free with you guys, no problem. So
that's awesome. Well, Jeff, I really appreciate your time. This is a great interview. Enjoyed talking with you. So enjoy Southern California weather.
Yeah, we're struggling for Jesus out here. You know, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of prayers to get through it, but it's awesome.
Somebody's got to do it.
Jeremy, for having me, especially, you know, NAIA-SIDA. We love everything you guys are doing, and we're thrilled to be able to be a part of this. Vanguard loves being a part of the NAIA, and I'm just honored to represent Vanguard in this platform.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the fall, and hopefully we get to see you guys playing some sports this spring, and maybe we'll have a COSIDA to go to in June, and I'll catch you there.
Absolutely. That's the hope and the prayer. So thank you, Jeremy.
Yep. Take it easy.